Weekly feed, Kyle Meredith with the legendary Robyn Hitchcock.
Hi, Kyle.
Welcome to Electric Lady Studios.
Yes, I've never been here before.
Yeah.
You've been here before, though.
I've been here once. That's kind of amazing. I mean, you've been doing this for a while. You know, it seems like it'd be on every rocker's list to drop into the house that Hendrix built.
I remember when he opened it in 1968, and I was a 15-year-old kid. You know, to me, the Bible was either, you know, if Bob Dylan happened to open his mouth, that was it. But the kind of side order would be that the music press and the underground press.
Right.
You know, the first copies of Rolling Stone were just arriving in select places in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd read that Jimmi Hendrix had a recording studio in New York, and he had, you know, members of the Jefferson Airplane in there, and it just seemed like it was an impossibly hallowed concept that this was happening. I mean, although Hendrix came from the States, he'd sort of started as a British act. He had the two guys in the experience were British, so in a funny way we looked on Hendrix as a British artist, and he'd obviously made it in America, and he was playing all these Fillmores, you know, and
it was so,
you know, everything was full of hair and smoke, and it was important, you know. And now everything's clean, and it doesn't really matter anymore.
Well, it was so easy, I guess, how easy it was to have the mythology of rock and roll, and thank goodness, because I feel like that's one of the reasons why the whole thing perpetuated the way it did, while we still have kind of an industry today, because you only did get that sliver of sight, of insight,
yeah,
like that, instead of now where it is all open and you know what everybody's tweeting every second while they're in the studio, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's no mystique really, is there? You know, but I mean, it doesn't matter. In a way, the whole thing is incredibly retro. I mean, you know, if you pull out a cigarette now, it shocks people as much as if you pulled out a hypodermic 35 years ago. You know. But
if it's the rebellious, you know, if rock and roll is, you know, the rebellious thing, as it used to be, you know, and that's the case, I mean, how do you kind of keep up the whole thing? Is it just because a new generation comes through, and so you've got new minds to say, oh, this is a dangerous thing, but you've also got hip-hop going on that seems to really, you know, much more of the dangerous thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it embodies a more exotic and in many ways menacing lifestyle, but, you know, some of it's pretty misogynist. Most of it seems to be largely about getting what you can for yourself. There's nothing dangerous about that. That's how America is run. And in fact, the Western world, since capitalism triumphed in 1990, getting what you can for yourself, you know, which seems to be the prime thing. I mean, it was probably the prime thing behind the Stones and the Beatles and everybody, really. It's just in sort of different costumes. But as a philosophy, it's doomed. Same as capitalism is doomed, you know. But rock and roll, but it's still music.
Sure.
You know, so
as long as you have a good song.
I play that stuff because I grew up with it, and I like it, and I work in that genre that was patented, if you like, in sort of 66, 67, 68. I mean, I'm not a Hendrixy guy, but I come from that era. I no longer believe that music will achieve any of the things we thought it would achieve back then. Nonetheless, it still does achieve a beauty both to listen to and to play.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears then and talk a little bit, because you got a new record.
Oh yeah,
Love from London.
Yes, that's right.
That's what we should actually be here discussing. But it is interesting, I guess, because all those things you were talking about, especially those last few things you were talking about, a lot of darkness in the world, and yet this seems like a celebration in the darkness.
Well, my record?
Yes.
Oh yeah, well, why not? You know, I mean, just because, you know, we're having a party on the Titanic, but it's still a party.
That's a good way of putting it. You know, so when you're, I mean, you've been doing this now multiple decades, many records. And I would imagine that deciding what your record is going to sound like now versus how it used to happen, because, you know, when you're an early musician, it's just pumping out songs, right? It's just, I have to write songs, and we've got to put them together, and we've got to get them out there.
Right.
It didn't seem like there's ever much time where a brand new artist can say, this is the big vision that I want to put. But do you get that option now when you're going in, or is it still just songs come naturally and here's my record, or can you kind of step back and say, no, I do want to make this record this time?
I think the more records you've made, the more you have to be careful not to keep making the same record. You know, which slice of the salami is it? Is this the 12th or the 23rd? Because they look very similar. So yes, each time I put a record out, simply so that the listener can differentiate, you know, can tell the difference between that one and the previous one and one 5 years ago. I do each time now think of, okay, how will we record this? What will the sound be for this one? So this one we decided to record in Paul's bedroom. Paul Noble, the producer, who's a friend of mine I met in the pub about 12 years ago. I mean, the thing is that 20 years in the 80s, when you recorded at home, you know, people started to have 4-track tape machines, cassettes and things, but it was pretty unsophisticated. Now, home recording has reached a level where you can make a pretty good sounding record. And Love from London, we made a point of making it sound nice, listener friendly. It's not a very demanding record. It has all the little bits of MSG added to it that make it digestible. You know, it's at the sort of pop end of my curve, you know. I'm like a windscreen wiper. I go from there to that, and that's all I do, from sort of acoustic to a bit noisy to rather nice and back again, you know. So we were down at that end of it, and Paul sprinkled all the stuff on it. Yeah. So the fact that we made it in a bedroom in Clerkenwell with the curtains drawn, in a kind of stuffy room with a guy from the police special branch making lasagna in the kitchen, and you know, you wouldn't know that to listen to it.
Sure, and right. And then on the songwriting side of things, I mean, you've always been a great storyteller. One of the songs that stands out, though, "I Love You," the simplicity of that, because when you're talking about how many songs are written about love, you know, millions and millions or whatever, and it's just this simple song with that simple refrain, and you're breaking a love song down to the most simplest love song ever created. That
was the idea, really, was to make it into... the original version just had that line, "I love you," repeated over and over. Yeah.
But so many artists would be so afraid of that, I guess is what I'm getting to, you know, because they can't be that simple, you know? You can't do that. You've got to put something else, and yet you made it work. Oh,
thank you. Well, it just occurred to, I just thought, what is it, basically, you know? And then I wrote the words in an airport in Spain, I think. And then Paul spent a long time kind of tidying it up.
Sure, but yeah, you think of how much work goes into how do I make a brand new love song? And you said, "I love you."
Well, thank you,
etc.
It's. I mean, the thing is, you know, love. It's like God. It's a small word that covers a lot of things, and you know, most songs could be described as love songs if they're to do with relationships between people, whether it's a love song that's trying to bring somebody towards you or someone that's trying to keep someone away, you know, an anti-love, "I'm finished with you, get out, go away, don't come back no more," you know, or "come here." Well, it's usually to do with someone being dissatisfied with their situation. Either they want this person, you know, "come into my life is empty without you," or it's, "I need to get rid of you, you're doing too much damage, you should go, I want to put you out with the garbage, stay away," you know. Yeah. Those are all love songs. Every so often, what I was trying to do in my song is actually celebrate an existing relationship, you know, that, "Oh, you're there, oh, that's incredible, wow, you're still there, look," you know, "Oh, you're there," you know. Just because something's been there a while doesn't mean it isn't still a miracle. It's happening, you know. I mean, look at how the old Empire State Building is holding up. You know, the universe has crumbled 1 billion times. People are born and dead. You know, we live in cities built by dead people. I'm doing this because 45 years ago, when I was 15, I was reading about Jimmi Hendrix and the Jefferson Airplane and Bob Dylan, and I thought, I want to do that. Right. I want to do that. So here I am at 60. I'm doing what a 15-year-old kid wanted. Yeah. You know, I'm doing what the young Robyn Hitchcock wanted. Yeah. You know, all our ideas, all the things that set us in motion are old. You know, when people get to Mars, they're going to be a few years older than when they left here. If we ever get anyone out to Alpha Centauri, it'll probably be their grandchildren that arrive, you know.
At 60, rock and roll's a young man's game, yet here you are at 60. being the great rock and roller?
Well, as I said in my press release, rock and roll is now an old man's game. You know, it was.
Because rock and roll has grown up?
Because rock and roll is about to be populated by people who are about to be senile. They're falling off the edge of the waterfall.
I mean, we finally get to see that happen, though. You know, it's.
Oh, we get to see. You know, one day there will be no more Rolling Stones. There will be no more Bob Dylan.
I think they have to prove that. I mean,
well,
it's
right
a bit up in the
now,
air.
you know, there's some of the Stones, McCartney, Dylan, Bowie's got a new album, Rod Stewart's going back out. You've got Queen without Freddie Mercury. You can probably get the Doors without Jim Morrison. Actually,
but it's got to be relevant, though. I mean, this stuff, you know, whether the Doors with someone else is going to be out there, you know, it's like, all right, it's a tribute band, maybe.
Well, I don't know, but, you know, isn't McCartney a tribute to himself, really?
But
because they were really good songs, and they were Beatles songs. I would pay, you know, it's $250 for a ticket, but he will probably turn in a really good show.
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on how good the new record is, though.
Oh, he won't play off the new record. He'll play he'll play the songs that he wrote in the Beatles, and we'll all be thrilled to see it.
Sure. But the Stones, you know, Doom and Gloom, that was their new song on this Greatest Hits. I thought it was a great song. I love Doom and Gloom.
Really? Is it good?
Yeah, I do, and I love it. And I was like, you know, now, they're just playing themselves. It's not like they did anything new.
No.
But we can turn that back around to you, though, and here you are with Love from London, and it's not that you're rehashing anything. You know, I mean, to me, there's nothing wrong with rock getting older, but it has to stay relevant, you know.
Well, I don't have so much of a past to trade on, you know. I've managed to get this far without ever selling any records, you know. Nothing I've done has ever grazed the top 100. Yeah. I had a couple of radio hits about 25 years ago. Yeah. Most people have no idea who I am, but I have a little seam of music lovers and people who are into what I do, and so, you know, I'm lucky enough to ride the currents of the music business, and you're sweet enough to ask me in here. You know, I come and go. I am the masked one, Vaboom. But there's not like there's some song I'm tethered to playing. Sure. You know, the Stones have got to play Brown Sugar. McCartney's going to have to play Hey Jude. You know, they feel they've got to, you know, Ian Dillon will have to play Like a Rolling Stone, although he'll murder it. But, you know, that's part of the deal with
You won't even know that's what he's playing.
You won't know, but you know, his fans have fun trying to decipher what the songs are, and Dylan has fun making them indecipherable. So it's a sort of game they play with each other.
Right.
And in a way, although I've been going a long time, I'm not really part of that. I do play quite a few old songs, and I play them, you know, as they were, as close to the original as I can get. I can still just about sing them in the same key, but, you know, I'm not trying to squeeze myself back into my 25-year-old trousers. But I accept that I'm part of, you know, I'm now a train with a lot of carriages.
Sure.
And that's nice that and I guess, you know, it's basically, it's all in a museum. It's just a travelling museum. You can go and see the Vermeer exhibition. It travels around. You can go and see the Rolling Stones. You can see Robyn Hitchcock. It's all vintage stuff, you know, going around.
Well, I'm so glad you're making records. And Love from London is fantastic.
Thank you, Carl.
Keep doing it, Robyn. And
I'll try.
Glad to good to catch up.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.